Most aviation companies assume that when sales struggle, it's because something is wrong with sales. The salesperson wasn't aggressive enough, the follow-up wasn't tight enough, the pitch needs polishing, the CRM isn't being used properly. So they hire another salesperson, or they bring in a trainer, or they tweak the commissions, or they push harder. And for a while, things improve. But then they don't, because sales was never the problem. Sales is where the pressure shows up when demand is unstable. It's the last system in the chain, which means it absorbs the consequences of everything upstream. So when your marketing is unclear or inconsistent or overly complicated, sales doesn't fail necessarily, but it does have to compensate. And that compensation is expensive. It shows up as longer sales cycles and more objections and more explaining and more discounting and more negotiation and more emotional labor from the people who should be selling rather than educating or translating. In the aviation industry, this is especially common because the industry rewards technical excellence and experience and relationships, but not necessarily messaging clarity. Many companies are really exceptional at what they do, but they are surprisingly vague about how they communicate about it. Marketing becomes a rotating collection of tactics: trade shows, email blasts, referrals, social posts, media buys, maybe a website refresh when things feel stale. And each tactic makes sense on its own, but together they were just simply random acts of marketing, and they're just making more noise. Sales has to step in and make sense of that noise. They clarify, they reassure, they fill in gaps that shouldn't exist. And that's when selling starts to feel heavy. So what looks like a sales problem is usually a demand problem. Demand that's inconsistent, demand that isn't qualified, demand that doesn't prepare buyers before the first conversation. When demand behaves this way, sales becomes reactive. Conversations start cold, pricing feels sensitive, confidence erodes, not because salespeople lack skill, but because they're constantly improvising. They're adding more effort to a broken structure, which doesn't fix the structure, it just hides the problem longer. Sales performance improves dramatically when marketing removes the non-essential complexity and focuses on doing fewer things well. Not louder, not flashier, but clearer. When demand is working, sales changes almost immediately. Conversations start warmer, buyers arrive informed, objections narrow, pricing steadies, sales cycles shorten, not because everyone rushes, but because less explanation is required. Sales doesn't need to be fixed when demand is doing its job. It just needs support, and when that happens, selling doesn't feel like pressure, it feels like progress.